Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. I'm sorry this has just been a last minute live. Sorry about that. But I've only just found the updates of the sentencing of this horrible man, Jaimie Barrow. So I'm going to read out to you what we've missed so far. It's on Nottingham Live. So we've missed a fair amount so far. I'm hoping that it'll get life. But anyway, it started this morning as the grieving husband, Fattoumatta Hydara, was addressing the court, and he was giving his victim impact statement. And he spoke about the last time that he saw his family, bless him. Speaking from the witness box, Mr. Hydara spoke of the last time he saw his wife and children, how he leaned over his daughter's crib, which was right next to the wall they shared with the defendant's flat. He kissed her, Naeemah, and then crawled onto Fatima's bed and kissed her. That's one of his daughters. Oh, sorry, that's the two of his daughters. He hugged and kissed his wife, and they exchanged "I love you." He walked downstairs, and then he left for his trip because he was going on a trip to the USA. He was working there, and he was trying to get a visa for the. Oh, I haven't shared it yet. Sorry. There, you should be able to see it now. Yeah, so he had a job in the USA, and he was working on getting a visa and taking the family with him. So that's the last time he saw them, last September. Let me just make sure you can see it now. I don't know if you can. Ah, yeah, you can. Morning, Princess. Morning, Lara. It's just the sentencing, Lara, for this horrible guy who murdered the family. He's been sentenced this morning, so I thought we talked about it the other day. So I thought I'd go on and we'd see the sentencing together, hoping for a life sentence. So he's murdered a mother and her two children, young children, by setting fire to their flat. He sat and listened to them screaming and didn't try and help. And he's blaming it on his personality disorder. Anyway, so then they were hoping to go and live together in America. So after 3 years of trying to sort the family's move to America, Mr. Hydara spoke of a visa interview in London on November the 29th last year. He bought his ticket so he could be with them. He walked around a shopping centre and bought gifts for his family, things they never saw. After his last conversation with his wife on the phone, he went to bed. His phone rang in the early hours and he was told by his mother-in-law there was an accident and the children did not survive. His wife was in intensive care. He calls Barrow a coward. This is Jaimie Barrow, the guy who actually did it. He calls Barrow a coward who knew exactly what he was doing. I begin to wonder, did he know who I was? Did he listen to the phone call? How much more did he know? He returned to the UK on November the 21st last year on a rainy afternoon. His first stop was in Clifton, then he went to intensive care to see his wife. I stood there and watched the movement of the monitor on the screen, and I knew the odds. I had the basic knowledge of healthcare. He prayed, and Mr. Hydara is addressing his comments directly at Barrow in the dock. I'd like to see what Barrow's face is like as he's saying that to him. So this is her husband. He's lost his wife and his two daughters, and he had to identify their bodies. He told how he was left hopeless and helpless. It was the people who mattered the most to me. Since then, he has been on a downward plunge into a wall of darkness and into the unknown. He identified the bodies of his daughters. He described his daughters as his two beautiful angels. So I wish I wouldn't use these initials. What's the QMC? His children were born at is that Queen Mary something? It'll be some hospital, will it? He is reflecting on their lives and how he was there for the first scan of his firstborn. He was excited as a first-time parent. and how they gave him the scissors when Fatima was born and he was shaking. He said he was preparing a future and my life will never be the same. And I'm not going to even try. I don't really know how he picks himself up after this. Because, you know, if you still had at least the children or one of the children, then you'd have something to carry on for. I cry more often than I've admitted to my family and friends. So Mr. Drama is asking Barrow why. The question still remains why. After 2 weeks of the trial, I still don't know why. This is what I want to know. I don't know why. He says, Barrow acted like judge and jury. He says to Barrow, I don't know what will happen to you. What I do know, most days it feels like I am serving a life sentence. You, Jaimie Edwin Barrow, you acted like the judge and jury that night. You sentenced me to this. Whatever my life will become, I don't know. You acted like the judge and jury that day. Gosh. So this is the guy, Jaimie Barrow. I think it was definitely racially motivated. I don't get you can say it was because he's got personality disorder as often as he wants. But I think it was racially motivated, definitely. Anyway, now we've got a statement from Fattoumatta's mum, Fattoumatta Hydara. And the statement from Fattoumatta has been read to the jury. She told how she settled in Nottingham. She and her husband were blessed with 4 more children. We led a happy and a simple life, she said. Her daughter attended college and did vocational training and enrolled in St. John Ambulance to volunteer and help others. Fatoumatta was mostly interested in working as a healthcare professional, in particular nursing, and she wanted to be a nurse. So this is as far as we've got so far. So in case you don't know about the case, if you didn't watch the video, this guy, Jaimie Barrow, who was their neighbour, he's due to be sentenced today. The family, the mother and the 2 children died from smoke inhalation after their neighbour started the fire last November using petrol for his motorbike. Why did he? Honest to God, he'd had quite a lot to drink beforehand, but even so, you can't use alcohol as an excuse either, can you? Yes, it was in the UK. It was in Clifton. Hi, the 411. Hi, Lara. Hi, Maltese. Sorry, I haven't been because I was reading that out. So yeah, very sad story, and I just hope. I mean, it's good that the father, because now the father, as I say, he's just lost everything, hasn't he? He's lost his wife, he's lost his children. So at least if one of the children would have survived, or his wife would have survived, he'd have something to cling on to, something to keep him going through everything. I don't know where you go from here. You know, that you just lose your whole family just like that, just in, you know, in such a horrible way. I mean, I presume he's getting some sort of counselling or help or whatever. I don't know. But, you know, I don't know how that works for victims. But the mother was, I think she was 28. One of her daughters was 3 years old. I mean, there was he was captured. I mean, he's bloody thick apart from anything. So he was captured on CCTV. He then phoned up asking when he could move back into his flat, because obviously everybody was evacuated from the flats as the police investigated. And he phoned up to ask when he could go back in. You know, he just totally, I mean, personality disorder. That's not a personality disorder. That's psychopathy, isn't it? That's total psychopathy. And it's such a shame, because just a couple of months later, when their visas, they would have been gone to America, you know, and he did that. I think there must have been, in my opinion, there was some sort of simmering resentment. He said something was mentioned about an argument about rubbish in the hallway or whatever, which, you know, that does happen. Obviously, neighbours argue, don't they? But it's rare that it comes to a point like this. Okay, there's another statement now. So, Fatoumatta had a passion working with people suffering with mental illnesses. Oh my God. Mrs. Dibba's statement, that's her mother's statement, was read by Sarah Knight, who is part of the prosecution trial team. Mrs. Dibba described her firstborn Fatoumatta as having a passion working with people suffering from mental illnesses, and she was greatly loved by them because of their personalities. Oops, it's changed again. What's going on? Oh, that's the photo. There's a photo coming up. She was greatly loved by them because of their personalities and qualities. She was admired so much. After her shift, she was called in to calm down certain patients who would only listen to her because of a thoughtful relationship she had formed with them. The crime you committed against my daughter and granddaughters has caused me great emotional, psychological, and financial pain. And this, I think, is going to be a picture of Fatoumatta, but it hasn't come out yet. So why has it not come out yet? Anyway. So, hi Maltese, hi Jackie. Exactly. You know, a lot of people have got personality disorders, don't they? You know, most people have got some psychological problems. I think that's just the nature of life sometimes, I think. But to blame it on a personality disorder, to me, that's insulting to the victims, to the people that he murdered. And it's insulting to people with personality disorders. It's like as if saying that if someone's got a personality disorder, they're going to go out and murder a mother and two children. I mean, you know, it's bad. It's bad. Anyway, let's see if it's got. I don't know why the photo hasn't come out of her. Anyway, so what seems to be that what we've had so far is the father. This is the father talking. Then the mother, the mother who died, her mother talking. This is him, Jaimie. He does look evil as well, but you know, people aren't born evil, are they? Where do you get to? Well, apparently he had a history of setting fires, which I don't know if you know, but it is like a bit of a red flag as far as serial killers and that are concerned. Arsonists quite often go on to murder people. I don't know what the connection is, but he did have, let's see if I can find out a bit about his history. He had like, what's the word? You know, a history of minor crimes. Mind you, don't know what minor crimes are these days. To call them minor crimes sound quite major to me. Let's see if we can find out actually something about him. See, he pled guilty to manslaughter. He said he didn't know they were in at the time, despite the fact it was 3 o'clock in the morning. And the pram was outside of because the little girl who was only one, the pram was outside, you know, so please, let's see if I can, I'm just trying to find out a little bit more information about him. See if I can find out what his history was before. I'm sure that I read somewhere that he had some. Yeah, so apparently he walked casually away from the fire after lighting petrol taken from his motorbike and set it alight with tissue paper in the early hours of the morning. He said the prosecutor said the family were asleep in the flat when the fire was started. And then they started screaming, but he did nothing to help them. Let me show you this tab. So, yeah, can you see that? I think you can. Yeah, this is the place where it happened. Yeah, it makes you wonder, some people, are they born evil? I do perhaps believe that, but, you know, yeah, it said prosecutors told the trial he had a grievance over rubbish being left in an alleyway, and he watched the fire take hold while ignoring screams coming from inside. He admitted he drank 7 or 8 cans of San Miguel lager. So he did nothing to help them, even though he could hear them screaming. And he's saying about fires that the more it goes, the more mesmerised I get. There he is. He said that lighting fires was cathartic, made him feel good, a cathartic exercise. He said that fires had always helped stress, and he was mesmerised by them taking hold. Well, at least he had the grace, because it says some members of the victim's family to whom Barrow apologised while giving evidence. Well, at least he had the grace to apologise. Sometimes they don't even apologise, do they? But they all wept after the verdicts were delivered, and Barrow remained silent throughout. He said he can't explain why he chose to target the neighbouring flat, but he had formed the opinion that no one was inside, as he had not seen or heard his neighbours in the days leading up to the fire. He had been suffering from a very, very low mood and was wallowing in self-pity. Yeah, whatever. In the days and hours before his actions, caused partially by his emotionally unstable personality disorder. Dear me. If they use that as an excuse, honest gosh, I'll be so angry. He said he didn't expect it to take hold as rapidly as it did. But then why didn't he ring the police then, or the fire brigade? And he said he was driven to admit what he had done to police officers due to an immense amount of guilt. Telling police, I need to tell you something about the fire next door. So did he actually confess? And I thought he got arrested, but maybe he did confess. Again, it's something, I suppose. In a psychiatric report read to the court by defence KC Christopher Henley, Barrow said, fire has always helped with stress. It has always been cathartic. When it goes up, it's always a sense of release. And the more it goes, the more mesmerised I get. And there they are. Fattoumatta, Fatima and Naeemah. Poor things. Yeah. So the father works as a biomedical technologist in America, and he was in the process of securing visas for his family to join him in Minnesota. He said she was a very faithful person who was caring and would help whoever she could. She loved the kids. They did a lot of baking together and fun things in the house. So it's on, you know. So let's go back, see if there's been any results in the sentencing. Okay, so the mother, again, this picture still hasn't come up for some reason. Anyway, so the grandmother of the children, Mrs. Dibber, revealed that on November the 20th, 2022, she went to the Sunday market with the intention of buying toys for her granddaughters. Fatima wanted building blocks, and Mrs. Dibber bought her some, toys her beloved granddaughter never got to see. So she says, the day I found out my granddaughters' lives were taken by this monster, it was like at that moment I would be willing to do anything to swap my life for theirs. She was told her daughter was in the ICU and her heart dropped. She was overcome with confusion, mystery and depression. And when she broke the news to her son-in-law, she heard the painful silence on the other end of the phone. Imagine having to tell somebody that. Goodness me. Right, let me just come back to chat a minute. Hi, Chumba. Hi. Yes, so what do we think about a sentence? I mean, I was trying to think of anything similar to this. You know, a similar case where, because obviously he was trying to say it was manslaughter, that he didn't mean to kill them. But to me, I feel like, of course he meant to kill them. Oh, and then he was saying he didn't know if he wasn't certain they were in there. But then, you know, they were saying that the pram was outside. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, where else would they be? And I mean, it's still bad enough. But then, of course, it'd be a lesser sentence if the judge believes that. So the judge is the one who's got to make... the judge is the one that's got to make the decision as to whether he believes it or not. I mean, what do you think about these sentences? You know, I think he'll get about 30 years. I think we'll be lucky if he gets 30 years. That'd be the maximum I think he'll get. You know, I can't see him getting any more than that, but what do you think? Yeah, sometimes, Princess, you have to get off. You have to get off the social media and that sometimes, because it's not very happy. So this isn't very happy, is it? We haven't got the sentence yet, Chumba. It's just going through it now as we're speaking. Oh, hang on, that's the wrong one. I'm following it on Nottingham Live because it's in Nottingham. So I'm following it on Nottingham Live, and they've had the victim impact statements from the family, from the father, and from the grandma. And I don't know when the judge is actually going to come up with the sentence. But basically, they've been addressing the guy who did it, this Jaimie. Let's go back to him. So it's Jaimie Barrow. He's the guy who did it. And the father, the husband of the woman that died, and the father of the 2 little girls that died, he's addressed him and said, I just don't understand why you did it, etc. And he's just talked about how it's affected his life. You know, that his life will never be the same. And he actually said, I'm not going to even try. That's a bit worrying. That I hope nothing, you know, he's got to how he moves on, I don't know, but he's got to, of course, he's got to move on. But he's, you know, I don't know how is he gonna. Anyway, then it went on. Fatoumatta's mum came and spoke about her and said she'd settled in Nottingham, and that they have 4 other children, not the one that's died, but the grandma. She has 4 other children, so she's got other children to stay. Well, say children, they're probably adults now, like Fatoumatta was. But you know, children help you carry on, don't they? If you've got children to focus on, even adult children, because if any of you out there have got young children, you think it's all going to get easier when they get older. It doesn't. It gets worse. I can tell you that. You always think, you know, it'll get better, but it really doesn't, because it gets more difficult, because you haven't got any control then either. You know, at least when they're little and they have problems, but you can try and sort them out for them. You can do what you can, etc. When they get older, they're just more of a worry, I think. Personally. Right, so we're still on the it's true though, isn't it? You think, oh, all the time when your kids are young, you think, oh, when they're a bit older and when they're a bit more independent, and it'll all get easier. And and I've only got one, so God knows how it is for people who've got lots of them. But lifetimes 3 it should be, but I think maybe 30 years. Well, what they'll do, they'll give a life sentence, won't he? I think he's got to give a life sentence, but then he'll give a minimum, won't it? So that, you know, they say life with them serving a minimum of 30 years or a minimum of 10 years or 15 years. But see, from what he was saying about getting so carried away with fires, he can't ever be let out, can he? Because he's admitted, you know, he sort of gets, he's always going to be a danger, surely, because you know, if he really thought that was acceptable, whether he's had 8 cans of San Miguel lager or not, and not being funny, but 8 cans of San Miguel lager, not that much. I could drink 8 cans of San Miguel lager quite easily, thank you. Now they've put some, again, the photos for some reason aren't coming up. So they've put photo up of the mother, and now they've put photos up of the scene. But why is it not coming up? Come on. Have I got to click on it? Maybe I've got to click on it. Well, I can't see any of these photos are coming up. Let's see what comes up actually. Maybe because why are the photos? See how the photos are just blank, and I don't know why. Yeah, they're putting photos on, but the photos aren't coming out at all. Anyway, the sentence. Okay, so Simon Ash, the barrister for the prosecution. Oh my God, I should have been a lawyer. Simon Ash, the barrister for the prosecution, said the starting point of the minimum term should be 30 years. That's what I thought as well. And I would have liked to have been a lawyer. That's physical. I would have liked to have been a politician or a lawyer, but I couldn't be a politician. But anyway, yeah, even now I'd quite like to be a lawyer, but I'm too old now, because by the time you finish the training and everything, I'd probably be dead by then if I started training to be a lawyer. But I find it fascinating, and I think I couldn't be a defence lawyer. I had a defence lawyer as a student, you know, a student who was learning Spanish. It's very interesting, the things he told me. If you're a defence lawyer, you always plead not guilty, always, even if you know your client is as guilty as sin. You know, like if he was in this case or any case where it was a open and shut murder case, you always tell them to plead not guilty. That is just what you do right from the start, even if you know they are actually guilty, and that you only change it as the trial progresses. And if it becomes, well, obviously, and if your client says they want to plead guilty, but you would never recommend to your client that they plead guilty. The only time you would then tell them to plead guilty is as the trial progresses, if it becomes obvious from the evidence presented, etc., that it's just blatantly obvious that they are guilty and that, you know, the evidence supports it. Then he would turn around to his client and say, look, you need to plead guilty and try and get a lesser sentence. So that's their duty. You know, that's why I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't sit there with someone that I knew 100% was guilty and defend them. I just couldn't. You know, I could defend someone who I thought genuinely was not guilty. But you know, that's what he told me. He said, doesn't matter if you know they're guilty or not, you always tell them to plead not guilty, and you only change that if they suddenly decide they want to plead guilty, or if the evidence as it comes out is so overwhelming that you realise they're going to get found guilty anyway. So you get them to change their plea and take whatever plea bargain they can take, you know, from that. But I couldn't do that. I definitely couldn't do that. Right, just let me have a look down the chat. You're chatting about Rico. Hi, Joanne. Yeah, I like Reiki as well, but I prefer a proper massage, because Reiki, they just sort of hold their hands over you, don't they? So, but massage is good. Okay, so let's see if they've got anything come up yet. So the solicitor or the prosecutor is asking for minimum of 30 years. Starting point of the minimum term should be 30 years. And I agree with him. I mean, it should be life really, but you know, we know that just doesn't happen, does it? People don't get life for murder, or very rarely. Oh, I'm just having a look at this news of it. That can't be. That's not very good. I'm just totally getting distracted like I do while we're waiting for an update. Let me just have a look at this. So apparently, you know, Madonna has been very, very poorly. Now, this one, oh no, this is a week ago. I think she's better now, isn't she? Isn't she better now? I know she was admitted to intensive care and she was put on a ventilator because she had a nasty bacterial infection. And I know she's had to cancel her tour dates, etc. But when I saw that then, I thought that was recent. But no, this is a week ago. I think she is better, from what I read anyway. Of course, Madonna is like an icon, isn't she? Don't like. Right. What's happened to those? Yeah, identify. Seems to have disappeared, some of the. Let's date it. Yeah, that's where we are. Oh gosh, right. He's jumping about like mad here. Oh, okay, so the scene is coming up now. The scene is coming up. Yeah, give me a massage, Tumber. I try and have one a month. It's really good for your circulation, etc. Okay, so things seem to be coming up on here now, these photos that weren't coming up before. So this was the scene. Oh dear. Do you know, it must be a very distressing job, that, isn't it? You know, these people that have to go in and, you know, take the children out. Oh, I just, you know, very difficult job for somebody to do. Very distressing. I mean, how, you know, you know what it's like when you have a bad day at work, and it's bad enough, isn't it? But their bad day at work is a bit different from anybody else's bad day at work. I don't know how you go home then and sort of hug your children and watch the telly and, you know, just carry on with normal life, or maybe it makes you count your blessings more. So that was the scene. And then people, it's the sort of thing that can upset you, isn't it? Lots of people laid flowers at the scene and balloons, etc. Very sad, very sad. And that was the police outside. Gosh, I mean, I'm a bit speechless. I just don't know how you could have done that. Anyway, here's the preparation. Mr. Ash, who again is the barrister for the prosecution, and he submits to the judge. There had been a period of time during which he had taken a series of preparatory steps. This included siphoning petrol from his motorbike into a cleaning bottle. Yes, so he did plan it. You know, didn't just go out in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning and, you know, just suddenly decide. He planned this. He was probably thinking about it. But how did he think? I mean, you know, if we look at it in a cold way, and he's thinking, he's got these evil thoughts, and he's thinking of doing some damage to this family for whatever reason. How did he think he would get away with it? Did he really think he would be able to do that and nobody would know it was him? Or, I mean, No, I don't understand why he even did it in the first place, but I certainly don't understand how he thought he could do it, and there'd be no, you know, didn't he think forward? I don't know. I don't know. So he siphoned petrol from his motorbike into a cleaning bottle. Okay. I wonder what his family think of it all, because that's what I was trying to find out about him, about his family. You know, imagine if it was your son, like knowing that they'd done something like this. That's hard to live with as well. I mean, it's not your fault. Obviously, it's not your fault, but it'd be hard, it'd be difficult. That. See if I can find out if he had any family. What was his second name again? Oh, there she is, Fattoumatta. Not a beautiful photo. Yeah, so apparently this is the mum. Apparently she worked with people with mental illness, which is ironic, isn't it? And then she was murdered by someone with, well, who's blaming it on mental illness. I don't think he murdered. That's why it's so disrespectful that he's saying, because it's like saying that anyone with a personality disorder is a murderer, or could be, you know, people are grappling with mental illness day in, day out, but they're not murderers. So he's a murderer, and that's it. Right, let me just find his surname. Barrow, that's it. Jaimie Barrow family. Let's see if I can find out anything about his family. Oh, it's just coming up about the family that he killed. Let's see. So we don't know if we can find out anything about his life. He had applied to move. So it must be like some sort of family housing place, because he'd applied to move from the Nottingham City Homes flat prior to the fire. And he says he didn't believe that the fire would spread so quickly. But if they had a carpet, obviously it would. So it says, this is a little bit more. He's saying he had been at home self-harming and drinking heavily before starting the fire, using petrol from his motorbike, hours after the family returned home from staying with Mrs. Hydara's mother. Barrow said the blowback was huge after lighting the petrol. He remained in the area of Mrs. Hydara's flat for 5.5 minutes after the start of the fire. He watched it burn, and he was still there when the fire alarm went off and when Mrs. Hydara and one of the children were screaming. He failed to get help from anyone, and after going off with his dog for a walk, I hope the bloody dog's all right, he returned to the scene, which was now crawling with fire engines and police, and pretended he had nothing to do with the tragedy that unfolded. Oh, there's a little video of him here. So a bit earlier, he'd been and bought his beers. I'm trying to show that. Let's see if I can show that. I'm going to show this video in a minute. So earlier that evening, this is him talking. Oh, yeah, he'd been into it. Oh, look, he's all happy and jolly. He's purchased 6 cans of lager from the local shop. Then he went and bought some more beer. It just always amazes me that they do normal things like that, you know, going to the supermarket and then go home, and all the time he's thinking he's going to, you know, kill his neighbours. So this is CCTV. Must be the police response. Yeah. Right, okay, let's see if anything else has come up on here. No, we haven't got any further than that yet. Let's have a look what's going on. Are you all being good in chat? You all behaving yourself? Oh, look, you're all chatting about, you know, just talking of Madonna. I know, it's like, bless her, because she's not, you know, she's had so much Botox and all the money she's got. You'd think at least she'd have had somebody good to do it. Do you know? I don't know if any of you out there have had Botox. I've never had it. It's not that, you know, I don't blame anyone for having it if they think that's what they want to have, but I'm just terrified of it. I'd be absolutely terrified because, well, you know, I don't like. That's right, Jackie. He phoned the police to see if he could return home. Yeah, I don't like needles anyway. So as far as Botox is concerned, the thought of putting something in me and then not really knowing how it was going to end up, because as I say, you look at Madonna now, she's, you know, multi-millionaire up, and it looks terrible what she's had done. So you'd think at least she would have had, you know, the best person to do it. So this is what scares me about it. Anything like that. I think if I ever did anything, I would have a facelift. Yeah, Botox is scary, I think, but I would have a facelift. You know, if I had loads of money, I would. Okay, right, something else has come out, so let's see. Okay, so apparently he drank 10 to 11 cans of beer. So Mr. Ash made the point of how much Barrow drank. 10 to 11 cans of beer before the fire and the psychotic drug he was taking, which helped. Oh, so if he was on drugs for his personality disorder, he shouldn't really have been using alcohol, should he? Which helped Barrow reduce his anger and negative thoughts. Well, no, it didn't work very well, did it? He stopped taking the drug before the fire. How long before the fire? Anyway, a decision which was voluntary. The psychiatric evidence showed he had a good insight into his disorder at the relevant time. In other words, he's just using it as an excuse. I mean, what do you think in chat? Do you think that personality disorders or mental illness should be used as an excuse? I think the problem is with cases, you've got to be very careful, because once these things start coming in to be, and people, you know, people who've got no morals, I'm sure sometimes mental illness does have something to do with it. But what happens is people who have no morals, they fasten on that, don't they? And then when their case comes up, Ian Huntley, he pretended to be mad, didn't he? Lots of murderers the Yorkshire Ripper. I mean, you could say they've got to be a little bit mad, haven't they? Otherwise, they're not going to do those horrible things. But there's a difference between being a psychopath and, you know, having, you know, being genuinely mentally ill. And when I say, obviously, psychopaths are mentally ill, but it's a different sort of mental illness, isn't it, to someone who's struggling with anyone who is struggling with mental illness, it's wrong then for people like this to blame they're just bad people. I personally think they're just bad people. Some people are just bad. Yes, hi Daisy Meadow, yeah. I know, yeah, it is. I don't think it was anything to do with rubbish in the alleyway. I think it was definitely racially motivated. He's not going to admit to that. They're probably frightened of saying it because it'd be like riots or whatever. But I think it was racially motivated. He's obviously a very angry person. I can't find anything about his future though, but sorry, his past. I can't find anything. We know what his future is going to be. He's going to be in prison for a long time, one way or another. But I do believe sometimes bad people who are just bad, try and blame the things they do on mental illness, and I think that's unfair on the victims, but also it's unfair on other people who do have mental illness. It's bad. Oh, David's late because he's catching up with the washing and the housework. You can come and do my washing and my housework if you like, because that's what I hate. I've been cleaning this morning. That's not much fun in 30 degrees heat. Yeah, he had a dog. I hope the dog's okay. I hope they've found somewhere nice for the dog. But God, what a horrible person. Right, so we're still on just what he drank. So he drank 10 to 11 cans of beer. But when, during what time did he drink that? You drink 10 cans of beer throughout a day, or if you drank 10 to 11 cans of beer within 20, he's done that for Dutch Courage to do it. He was planning on doing it, and he's drank the cans of beer to sort of give him the confidence, if you like, or to make him. He's been planning it because he siphoned off the petrol anyway from his motorbike. So it was a plan. It wasn't just, wasn't a sudden. The thing is, what you would do if you had a mental illness and you just did something spontaneous, that'd be like if you just saw someone and you got into an argument and then boom, in a fit of rage, isn't it? This is not that sort of thing, is it? This is not somebody, I mean, and how you could even do that against a mother and two little kids, I don't know. If you sort of like just lost it and started hitting them or whatever, but I still don't see how you could do that. But that's a rage thing. I can see how someone who has a mental illness can go into a rage or a psychosis, but they don't normally plan things, so those are normally just when they go out of control. But he didn't go out of control. He was in control. You could see that when he went to the supermarket, he's laughing and joking. When he came back and he was chatting to the police, he's just like normal, as if nothing had happened. So he wasn't psychotic at all. So bye, Jackie. Be natural, be beautiful. Well, let's hope that they do come up with something. We could be here all day, couldn't we? But we'll see. We'll stay on a little while longer and I'll see how the updates go. All right, now his lawyer is speaking. Mitigation. Well, good luck with this, Christopher. So Christopher Henley, who represented Barrow during the trial, has addressed the judge. He said Barrow had struggled the whole of his life with his mental health. He spoke of the troubles of Barrow's early life. This winds me up a bit because when they're always, they were poor, or the mother, it's normally the mother they blame, isn't it? Or the father was a drunk, or the this, that, or the other. All these things. But so many people go through so much when they're children, but they don't end up doing things like this. So I don't like that defence either. I know some people have very, very difficult childhoods and they get abused and whatever. You know, I'm telling you, my childhood wasn't that brilliant, but I haven't turned out to be a murderer. And lots of people go through much worse things and don't do it. So I don't like that as an excuse either. Anyway, so he said Barrow had struggled the whole of his life with his mental health. He spoke of the troubles of Barrow's early life. Days before the fire, Barrow, according to a witness, was going through a particularly bleak period. This was reflected in a text message exchanges, which were full of self-loathing and hopelessness. And Barrow had said, he feels like he is less than pond scum. Well, he is, I'm afraid. Again, you know, I feel sorry for him. If he felt like that, must be the most awful thing in the world. But why hurt someone else? You know, I just can't. I just can't think of that as an excuse to murder a mother and 2 little children because you feel like your life, you are less than pond scum. I mean, that's awful. You know, to feel like that is awful. My heart would go out to him if he hadn't gone on to murder a mother and 2 small children. He should have sought help. That's what he should have done. He just should have. You don't go and kill somebody just because you feel like crap. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you use your own depression as an excuse to murder 2 children and a mother? That actually makes me even angrier. I'd just rather that he just said, "Oh God, you know, I'm a twat. I'm really sorry. I don't know. I just all this trying to make people feel sorry for him." Gosh, I wonder if he has got family. I wonder if his family are there. Does he? I mean, he must. Well, he obviously does have parents, but everybody has parents. But who knows where his family are? Where are his family? He obviously has friends. If he's had these, I mean, he must have known. If he sent that text to a friend, he must have known them quite well, mustn't he? Or a friend or family, because it just says according to a witness. So that could be family or friends. But there's obviously someone that he knew well enough to talk to about his mental state, to say he feels like he's less than pond scum. At least he did know, you know, that he was going through that stage, and he did have somebody that he could communicate that to. So why did he? I don't know. I hope that these are not mitigating circumstances, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, what do we? Let me just go back into chat. What do you think? Do you think that's a mitigating circumstance? Let's see what you say. Yeah, Daisy, exactly. That's why I think what he did was evil. So unless he is like genuinely like schizophrenic or, you know, going through some sort of psychosis, which he wasn't. People do go through things, go through mental health episodes. I know that. But he didn't. Oh, look you do. I know, mitigation, David. Come on. I mean, why don't they just say there's no mitigation? There was a troll yesterday. Lara, tell me who the troll was. What was the troll saying? Yes, Daisy, I agree. Yeah, he's trying for a lighter sentence. That's what the mitigation's about. Somebody was talking about trolls. Somebody tell me about the troll yesterday, because I need to know, because then I have to look out for them if they come back in. Who's been deleting the trolls? Right, I'm going back up. Right, I don't know, there must be a delay on the chat. So if you ever get any trolls when we're in chat, remember to tell me, because I mean, and when I say troll, I mean somebody being nasty. Not so people can have a different opinions. That's fair enough. But when someone's actually nasty to someone else, I don't like that. I just get rid of them. Oh, that was that one last week. Yeah, on Hannah. That was the one that duplicated some account. Yeah, but they've got, well, I say they've gone. I mean, you never know who can come into the chat. Anyone can come into the chat. But that was because I'd oh, that was during the inquest, wasn't it? Because I had to go down and do the class, and so I had to leave it for a little while. But anyway, they've gone, I think. But so who was the troll yesterday? Because I didn't notice a troll yesterday. But sometimes I don't notice because I'm, reading something out or looking at something. Okay, so we're still on the mitigation. I'm going to stick with it for another 15-20 minutes. If it doesn't move quickly enough, I'm going to have to go, I'm afraid. But I will report the actual verdict when it comes in. Yeah, Daisy Meadow, that's what I was saying earlier. That student I had who was a defence attorney or defence lawyer, I couldn't do it. His job is to defend them even if he knows they're guilty. Even if he knows they're guilty of a serial killer, a child murderer, whatever they're guilty of, the job is to defend them no matter what, and to instruct them to plead innocent unless it comes to the point where the evidence has just gathered so much that this guy, he didn't plead guilty. He pled guilty to manslaughter, but he was found guilty of murder. So what we're looking at today is the sentencing. But he never pled guilty to murder. He's pled guilty to manslaughter. And the thing is, what they should do, I think, is because of course when they plead not guilty, then it goes to trial. That costs the taxpayer a lot of money. So whereas if they plead guilty, it not only avoids the torment for the family of going through the trial, but it saves the money, if you like. So that's why if they plead guilty straight away, they do tend to get a more lenient sentence. All right, something's come through now. Oh, God. When will Barrow be sentenced? The judge has decided she will sentence Jaimie Barrow at 2:30 p.m. today. So 2:30 p.m., that's the English 2:30 p.m. So it's now only 1 o'clock. So there you go. So we're not going to get a result right now. But I probably won't come on live later for the results. But David, that's what the solicitor said, wasn't it? 30 years. That's what I think it should be as well. Then that's what the prosecuting solicitor said. So I think 30 years is fair enough, because I still think he did mean to kill them, though, to be honest. So, but you can't give a whole life tariff, because to have a whole life tariff, I think there has to be some sexual element in the murder as well, so not just murder, but there wasn't any sexual element there. So Daisy, all those people had defence lawyers, and Oscar Pistorius, people are still saying he is innocent. That Mark Williams Thomas, that's why I've just gone off him so much. I used to quite respect him. But Oscar Pistorius, now Mark Williams Thomas came out on Twitter I said, I know this is going to upset a lot of people, but I think he was innocent. Good God. Right, so you're looking at how you can share your emails. I don't know. Did you say you'd put it in the chat? I haven't taken it out, so I probably wouldn't recommend you to put it in the chat, because remember, anyone can see it in the chat, even the trolls. So but I don't know how else you can do it. Can you not? Can you not look up? Can you not look for your what's it for your nickname in YouTube? Can you not get yourself up on YouTube and send a message YouTube? No, I don't know how you can do it. The only other thing you could do is because a couple of you have sent me emails. So if you send your email to me and you give me the permission to send it to someone, maybe I can do it like that, but I don't know. But anyway, you can put it in chat for me. I don't mind you putting it in chat, but just be aware when you put your email in chat, anyone can see your email. So yes, he did as well, David. I think sometimes he just goes with the whatever. Let me go back up to the top, Lara. Let me see. I can't see an email there anywhere. I think maybe you can go. When did you? Oh, see, I don't know. It's quite a long chat now. It's quite a long chat, but I think if you watch the video again, it normally goes through all the chat bit by bit. I can't, but just looking through it quickly here, I can't see any email. Still looking. Oh, I see that David's coming to help me with my clean. They are, David. We all want you to come and help with the cleaning. Yeah, I can't see any email there. Just go down it. So I don't know how you can get around that, but anyway, that's it. So I'm going because it's time for lunch now, isn't it? The judges, and what I'll do is I think when the verdict comes through, I'll put it in a community post. But thank you for being here with me. So have we got any other, so David's saying 30 years. If you've got any other estimate that you think it'll be, I think it'll be 30 years as well. So we'll see if we should be judges or not. I hope it's not one of those judges, God, because some judges are so very lenient, aren't they? Especially with him talking about his mental illness, etc. But we'll see. Okay, so thanks for being here, and I will see you tonight, because remember to don't forget the live tonight. So I'll be talking about the Member of Parliament for St Michael's on Weir. So I was going to do the Home Office pathologist, but then I started looking into this with the Member of Parliament, and I still can't quite believe that he's never said anything. A Member of Parliament, so, the Secretary of State for Defence, it's such a high up MP, a member of the cabinet with one of the prime jobs in the cabinet, and he's the MP for that area, and he's never said a word. Now, somebody put on one of the comments they'd seen one tweet from him when Nicola's body was first found, and then but that's disappeared, because I've been through all his social media. His public social media. Obviously, I don't know if he's got private social media, but his public Twitter and his public, etc. And nothing. So I found out quite a lot of things about him. It's very interesting, how everything ties together, and how it even ties in with the death of Diana. So, okay. So I'll see you tonight. Take care. Remember to always live and love very wisely and carefully. And until I see you later. And remember, I will be putting the result on the verdict sentence on the community post as soon as I hear it. So thank you so much. and may your gods go with you. Thank you.